The Mongol army's greatest weapon was not their horses or bows, but their masterful understanding of tactical warfare. In the flickering light of their command tent, seasoned generals would spread maps across wooden tables, their weathered fingers tracing routes that would soon become paths to conquest. Every line drawn represented weeks of careful planning, every mark a calculated risk that could determine the fate of entire civilizations. Information was the foundation of Mongol supremacy. Their scouts, known as the eyes of the army, would infiltrate enemy territory days before the main force arrived. These skilled observers would memorize every detail of enemy positions, counting soldiers, noting supply lines, and identifying weaknesses in fortifications. Their reports would travel back through an intricate network of messengers, ensuring that Mongol leaders possessed complete knowledge of their adversaries before engaging in battle. The Mongol communication network was revolutionary for its time. Mounted messengers would race across vast distances, their signal flags identifying them as bearers of urgent intelligence. These riders formed an invisible chain that could transmit messages across thousands of miles in mere days. While enemy armies struggled with slow communication, Mongol commanders could coordinate complex maneuvers with precision, striking multiple targets simultaneously across enormous battlefields. Mongol generals were masters of terrain analysis. They would spend hours studying landscapes, identifying natural choke points, elevated positions, and areas where their cavalry could maximize their devastating impact. From hilltops and ridges, they would observe enemy movements like chess masters planning their next move. Every valley, every river crossing, every forest edge was catalogued in their minds as either an opportunity or a potential trap to be avoided. Training was relentless and unforgiving in Mongol society. From childhood, warriors practiced complex cavalry maneuvers that would later prove decisive in battle. They learned to shoot accurately while galloping at full speed, to change direction instantly on command, and to maintain formation even under the most chaotic conditions. These rehearsals were not mere exercises but rehearsals for the systematic destruction of their enemies. The composite bow was perhaps the most feared weapon in the Mongol arsenal. Crafted from layers of wood, horn, and sinew, these weapons could launch arrows with tremendous force and accuracy. Mongol archers could strike targets accurately while riding at full gallop, their horses trained to maintain steady rhythm even as their riders drew and fired. This combination of mobility and firepower allowed small groups of Mongol warriors to devastate much larger enemy formations. The feigned retreat was a signature Mongol tactic that proved devastatingly effective. Enemy commanders would watch in satisfaction as Mongol forces appeared to break and flee, their horses kicking up dust as they retreated in apparent panic. Pursuing armies would follow eagerly, believing victory was within their grasp. But this retreat was carefully orchestrated, drawing enemies into pre-planned killing fields where Mongol forces would suddenly wheel about and unleash their full fury upon overconfident pursuers. Encirclement was the Mongol answer to superior enemy numbers. Rather than engage in frontal assaults against larger forces, they would simply surround their opponents completely. These tactical rings could contract slowly, forcing enemies into tighter spaces while Mongol archers picked off targets from safe distances. Escape routes would be systematically closed until the encircled enemy found themselves trapped in an ever-shrinking circle of death, their numerical advantage rendered meaningless. Psychological warfare was as important to Mongol tactics as any physical weapon. Their warriors would practice intimidating displays designed to unnerve enemy forces before battle even began. The sight of hundreds of mounted warriors, their armor gleaming in the sun, their horses stamping impatiently, could break enemy morale before the first arrow was fired. Mongol commanders understood that fear was often more powerful than steel, and they wielded it as expertly as their legendary bows. The Mongols were not merely horse archers but masterful siege engineers. They would carry entire workshops with their armies, complete with skilled craftsmen who could construct siege equipment faster than enemy defenders could prepare for it. These mobile engineering corps could build towering siege engines, battering rams, and scaling ladders in a matter of days. No fortress, no matter how formidable, could withstand the combination of Mongol tactical brilliance and engineering expertise. Deception was woven into every aspect of Mongol warfare. They would use smoke screens, dust clouds, and carefully timed movements to mask their true numbers and intentions. Enemy scouts would report confusing accounts of Mongol positions, their observations obscured by tactical smoke and dust. This confusion allowed Mongol forces to move unseen, to strike from unexpected directions, and to create the illusion of much larger armies than they actually commanded. Coordinated multi-front attacks were the pinnacle of Mongol tactical sophistication. While one enemy force was engaged in fierce combat, Mongol units would simultaneously strike at other points along the enemy line. These coordinated assaults required perfect timing and communication, elements that the Mongols had mastered through years of practice. Enemy commanders found themselves fighting battles on multiple fronts, their forces stretched thin while Mongol warriors struck with concentrated force wherever resistance was weakest. Night raids were among the most feared Mongol tactics. Under cover of darkness, their warriors would approach enemy camps with supernatural stealth, their dark clothing making them nearly invisible in the shadows. These midnight assaults would strike at the heart of enemy positions when defenders were least prepared, creating chaos and panic that would last long after the raiders had vanished into the night. Sleep became a luxury that enemy forces could rarely afford when Mongol warriors were known to be nearby. Tactical withdrawals were as carefully planned as any offensive maneuver. Mongol forces would appear to retreat in disarray, their withdrawals seeming genuine enough to encourage eager pursuit. But every step of their retreat was calculated, every pause designed to draw enemies further from their defensive positions. Hidden Mongol warriors would wait in concealed positions, their patience rewarded when pursuing enemies found themselves surrounded in carefully chosen killing fields where Mongol tactical superiority could be fully exploited. Fire warfare was another weapon in the Mongol tactical arsenal. Their archers could launch flaming arrows with deadly accuracy, setting enemy positions ablaze while defenders struggled to maintain formation. These incendiary weapons could ignite supply wagons, burn defensive structures, and create chaos in enemy ranks. The psychological impact of watching their positions consumed by flames often proved more devastating than the physical damage, breaking enemy morale at crucial moments in battle. Mobility was the foundation of Mongol tactical superiority. While enemy forces remained static in defensive positions, Mongol warriors could move with lightning speed around their flanks and rear positions. This tactical mobility allowed small Mongol forces to threaten multiple enemy positions simultaneously, forcing defenders to divide their attention and resources. Enemy commanders would find their carefully planned defensive lines rendered meaningless as Mongol forces struck from unexpected directions with relentless precision. Supply line disruption was a Mongol specialty that proved devastatingly effective. Their commanders would identify and target the logistical lifelines that kept enemy armies fed and equipped. By striking at supply convoys, destroying food stores, and cutting communication lines, Mongol forces could paralyze entire enemy campaigns without firing a single arrow in direct combat. These tactical strikes against enemy logistics often proved more effective than any frontal assault. Tactical adaptability separated Mongol warriors from their enemies. They could seamlessly transition from cavalry charges to dismounted combat, from ranged attacks to close-quarters fighting, all based on rapidly changing battlefield conditions. This flexibility allowed them to exploit enemy weaknesses wherever they appeared, to adapt to terrain challenges, and to maintain tactical initiative even when initial plans went awry. Their ability to think tactically while fighting made them nearly impossible to defeat through conventional military strategies. Mongol warriors understood that tactical positioning extended beyond mere formation and included maximizing every advantage their mounts provided. They would position their horses to take advantage of natural obstacles, using terrain to protect their flanks while maintaining mobility. Their tactical positioning allowed them to strike from optimal angles, to retreat to safety with minimal exposure, and to maintain the initiative through superior positioning that enemy forces could never match. Tactical feints were sophisticated deceptions that could mislead entire enemy command structures. Mongol forces would make movements that appeared to indicate one course of action while actually planning something entirely different. These tactical misdirections would cause enemy commanders to commit their reserves to defend against phantom threats, to weaken their positions in areas where Mongol forces would actually strike, and to make decisions based on false intelligence that Mongol tacticians had carefully planted. The use of tactical reserves was a Mongol innovation that allowed them to maintain battlefield flexibility while preserving striking power for decisive moments. These disciplined forces would wait patiently while initial attacks softened enemy resistance, then strike with devastating effect when enemy lines showed signs of weakness. Mongol commanders understood that battles were won not by the first wave of attack but by the timely commitment of fresh forces at the most advantageous moment. Tactical coordination between Mongol units was seamless and instinctive. Warriors would communicate through subtle signals, coordinated movements, and shared understanding of tactical objectives. This coordination allowed them to execute complex maneuvers that required perfect timing between multiple units. Individual warriors functioned not as isolated fighters but as integral parts of larger tactical systems, their actions synchronized with supporting elements to create overwhelming tactical advantages at critical points. Tactical patience was a weapon that Mongol commanders wielded expertly. They understood that forcing enemies to wait, to maintain constant vigilance, and to endure the psychological pressure of uncertainty could be more effective than any direct assault. Mongol forces would maintain threatening positions for days, their apparent inactivity creating mounting tension in enemy ranks. This tactical patience would eventually cause enemy forces to make mistakes born of frustration, creating opportunities that Mongol tacticians could exploit with devastating precision. Even Mongol retreats were tactical masterpieces executed with perfect discipline. When forced to withdraw under enemy pressure, their warriors would maintain formation, cover their retreat with disciplined covering forces, and preserve their tactical cohesion throughout the withdrawal. These controlled retreats would often frustrate pursuing enemies who expected to capitalize on apparent victory, only to find that Mongol forces had preserved their strength while denying their pursuers any meaningful tactical advantage. Mongol commanders were master analysts who could identify tactical weaknesses in enemy formations with remarkable speed and accuracy. They would study enemy positions for signs of poor discipline, inadequate training, or strategic vulnerabilities that could be exploited. This tactical intelligence gathering allowed them to concentrate their forces against enemy weak points, to avoid strong positions, and to strike where their tactical advantages would be maximized while enemy resistance would be minimized. Tactical flexibility was essential to Mongol success across diverse battlefields and against varied opponents. They could adapt their fighting techniques to counter heavily armored knights, to overcome infantry formations, or to defeat other cavalry forces through tactical modifications. This adaptability allowed them to remain effective regardless of enemy composition or terrain challenges, their tactical systems proving versatile enough to overcome any opposition through creative application of fundamental Mongol warfare principles. Individual Mongol warriors were trained in tactical deception that could mislead enemy observers about unit strength and intentions. They would use positioning, movement patterns, and equipment displays to create false impressions that enemy scouts and commanders would interpret incorrectly. These individual deceptions, when multiplied across entire Mongol armies, could create massive misperceptions about Mongol capabilities and plans, allowing actual tactical operations to proceed with maximum surprise and effectiveness. Tactical envelopment was a sophisticated maneuver that required perfect coordination between multiple Mongol units. They would extend their lines to completely surround enemy formations, their movements creating tactical pockets that isolated enemy forces from reinforcement or escape. This envelopment strategy allowed Mongol forces to eliminate enemy units systematically while minimizing their own exposure to counterattack, their superior mobility and coordination making these complex maneuvers appear effortless. Simultaneous tactical strikes across multiple enemy positions prevented opponents from concentrating their defensive resources effectively. Mongol commanders would coordinate attacks that struck at different enemy positions at precisely the same moment, creating tactical dilemmas that enemy commanders could not resolve through conventional reinforcement strategies. This synchronized approach to tactical warfare allowed smaller Mongol forces to achieve local superiority at critical points while denying enemies the ability to respond effectively to multiple threats. Fundamental tactical principles were executed with perfection by Mongol warriors, whose positioning and timing created advantages that dominated battlefield engagements. They would achieve superior positions through careful movement, strike at optimal moments through patient waiting, and maintain tactical initiative through constant pressure and coordinated action. These basic principles, when executed flawlessly, proved more effective than any complex tactical innovation that enemies might attempt to employ against them. Tactical mobility allowed Mongol forces to maintain relentless pressure on enemy positions while preventing any opportunity for defensive stabilization. They could shift their positions rapidly, appearing suddenly at different points along enemy lines to prevent the establishment of coherent defensive strategies. This constant tactical pressure would eventually wear down enemy resistance through sheer exhaustion and frustration, creating opportunities for decisive tactical strikes when enemy forces could no longer maintain their defensive positions effectively. Difficult terrain presented tactical challenges that Mongol warriors overcame through superior training and tactical discipline. They could maintain formation and tactical cohesion while advancing through forests, across rivers, or over rough ground that would scatter less disciplined forces. This ability to advance tactically through challenging terrain allowed them to strike at enemy positions when and where opponents least expected, their tactical mobility. Tactical reserves under Mongol command provided decisive power at crucial moments when initial attacks created breakthrough opportunities. These disciplined forces would remain ready to exploit any tactical advantage that presented itself, their fresh strength and coordinated movements allowing them to expand initial successes into complete tactical victories. Mongol commanders understood that battles were won not by the first wave of attack but by the timely commitment of reserves at the most advantageous tactical moments. Complex tactical maneuvers required flawless coordination between Mongol units operating across extended battlefield areas. Their communication systems and shared tactical understanding allowed them to execute maneuvers that would be impossible for less coordinated forces. This tactical coordination enabled them to achieve battlefield effects that multiplied their actual strength, their synchronized movements creating tactical advantages that overwhelmed enemy forces through superior organization and execution. Individual tactical positioning by Mongol warriors created advantageous firing angles while maintaining mobility essential for survival and effectiveness. They would position themselves to maximize the impact of their weapons while retaining the ability to move quickly to safety or new tactical positions. This individual tactical excellence, when multiplied across entire Mongol armies, created collective tactical advantages that proved nearly impossible for enemies to counter through conventional military responses. Tactical withdrawals by Mongol forces were elaborate deceptions designed to draw enemy pursuers into pre-planned killing zones where Mongol advantages could be maximized. These withdrawals appeared genuine enough to encourage eager pursuit while actually leading enemies into positions carefully selected by Mongol tacticians. The pursuing forces would find themselves suddenly surrounded in terrain that favored Mongol mobility and firepower, their pursuit transformed into tactical disaster through superior Mongol planning and execution. Coordinated tactical deception operations created false impressions about Mongol capabilities and intentions across extended operational areas. Mongol commanders would deliberately spread misinformation, create false tactical displays, and manipulate enemy intelligence gathering to mislead opponents about their true strength and plans. These deception operations allowed actual Mongol tactical movements to proceed with maximum surprise, enemy forces making decisions based on false intelligence that Mongol tacticians had carefully cultivated. Superior use of terrain was fundamental to Mongol tactical superiority, their positioning maximizing natural advantages while minimizing vulnerability to enemy response. They would use hills for observation and protection, forests for concealment, and rivers for defensive barriers while maintaining mobility essential for tactical flexibility. This tactical understanding of terrain allowed them to fight from positions of advantage regardless of enemy strength or tactical sophistication. Tactical concentration allowed Mongol forces to achieve local superiority against enemy positions through rapid concentration of strength at critical points. They could move forces quickly across battlefield areas to create overwhelming tactical advantages where needed most, their mobility and coordination enabling them to concentrate superior numbers against isolated enemy positions. This tactical concentration principle allowed smaller Mongol armies to defeat larger enemy forces through superior tactical application of concentrated strength. Tactical advances under enemy fire demonstrated Mongol discipline and tactical training, their movements maintaining formation and cohesion while advancing through dangerous areas that would cause less disciplined forces to seek cover or retreat. They would advance steadily under fire, their tactical positioning minimizing exposure while maintaining momentum essential for successful assault operations. This ability to advance under pressure created tactical opportunities that enemies could not prevent through conventional defensive measures. Tactical intelligence identified enemy command vulnerabilities that Mongol commanders would exploit through coordinated strikes against critical leadership elements. They understood that disrupting enemy command and control would cause tactical breakdown throughout opposing forces, their coordinated attacks targeting key command positions to create chaos and confusion. This tactical approach to leadership elimination proved more effective than attempting to defeat enemy forces through conventional attrition tactics. Tactical innovation through enemy adaptation allowed Mongol forces to incorporate captured equipment, personnel, and tactical concepts into their own systems. They would study enemy tactics, adopt effective techniques, and integrate captured resources into their tactical framework while maintaining their fundamental tactical advantages. This adaptive approach to tactical warfare allowed them to continuously evolve their tactical capabilities while enemies remained static in their conventional approaches to military organization and combat. Tactical patience allowed Mongol warriors to maintain readiness while denying enemies opportunities for premature engagements on unfavorable terms. They would wait patiently for optimal conditions, their disciplined positioning maintaining tactical flexibility while preventing enemies from forcing battles under disadvantageous circumstances. This tactical patience often frustrated enemy commanders who sought decisive engagement, their forces growing weary while Mongol warriors remained fresh and ready for action at the most advantageous tactical moments. Tactical envelopment through coordinated movements surrounded enemy positions from multiple directions, Mongol forces maintaining tactical coordination across extended frontages to achieve positional superiority. They would extend their lines to completely encircle enemy formations, their movements creating tactical pockets that isolated opposing forces from reinforcement or escape. This envelopment strategy allowed systematic elimination of enemy units while minimizing Mongol exposure to counterattack, their superior mobility and coordination making complex maneuvers appear effortless. Coordinated tactical strikes against enemy logistics and supply systems prevented opponents from maintaining tactical operations across extended areas. Mongol commanders would identify and target critical infrastructure including supply depots, communication lines, and transportation networks essential for enemy tactical effectiveness. These strikes against enemy logistics often proved more devastating than direct tactical engagements, paralyzing enemy campaigns through systematic destruction of the material foundations supporting military operations. Superior battlefield awareness and rapid tactical adaptation distinguished Mongol warriors from their enemies, their ability to assess and respond to tactical developments faster creating continuous advantages throughout engagements. They would constantly evaluate tactical situations, adapt their approaches to changing conditions, and exploit opportunities as they arose while denying enemies similar tactical flexibility. This tactical agility allowed them to maintain initiative and tactical superiority regardless of initial battlefield conditions or enemy tactical responses.